Emily Carter clutched her boarding pass with trembling fingers as she shuffled down the aisle of the packed plane. Her feet ached, her laptop was barely holding on, and her heart was worn thinner than her coat. It had been a grueling week of back-to-back job interviews in Denver, each ending in polite rejection and a forced smile. Now, she just wanted to collapse into her seat and sleep the disappointment away. She spotted seat 14A and slid in, pressing her forehead against the cold window. The steady thrum of the engines was oddly comforting. For the first time all day, she allowed herself to exhale. A few minutes later, a tall man in a navy suit stopped beside her row. He glanced at her, then at his ticket. "Excuse me," he said with a calm, friendly tone. "I think this might be my seat." Emily blinked, confused. "Wait, isn't this 24A?" She checked her ticket, and her face flushed deep red when she realized the mistake. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, already gathering her bag to stand. But the man raised a hand, smiling gently. "It's no trouble. I'll take yours. It's a short flight anyway." Stunned, Emily sank back down as he stored his luggage and took the middle seat beside her. "Thank you," she whispered, still embarrassed. He chuckled. "No worries. Wrong seat, right time maybe." The plane rumbled to life, and as it soared into the clouds, Emily found herself beside a stranger whose simple act of kindness felt like a balm. She didn't know his name yet. And she certainly didn't know that this seat mix-up, this tiny, inconvenient mistake, was about to shift the entire direction of her life. The plane leveled out above the clouds, and for a moment, silence settled between them. Emily tried to focus on the in-flight magazine, but her mind kept drifting. Her heart still pounded from the mix-up, and the stranger's unexpected kindness lingered in her thoughts. He glanced over with a friendly smile. "First time to New York?" he asked. Emily shook her head. "I live there. Or at least, I'm trying to." He raised an eyebrow. "Trying?" She let out a tired laugh. "I moved there a few months ago to pursue a career in design. Thought I'd have my dream job by now. Turns out, dreams are expensive." He didn't respond with the usual awkward nod or vague sympathy. Instead, he leaned in slightly, listening, really listening. "Rough week?" he asked. Emily bit her lip, unsure why she felt safe enough to answer honestly. 3 interviews. 3 rejections. I've been sleeping on my friend's couch, and I can't even afford to split her rent anymore. But I haven't told my parents. I don't want them to worry." He nodded slowly. "You're brave. Most people wouldn't even try. They'd stay safe, comfortable, ordinary." That surprised her. No one had ever called her brave before. "Thanks," she said softly. "What about you? Business trip?" He smiled but kept it vague. "Something like that." For the next hour, they talked about everything and nothing: favorite movies, places they traveled, how hard it was to keep believing in yourself when doors kept closing. When Emily laughed at one of his jokes, the tension in her chest finally loosened. She didn't even know his name, but it felt like he saw her, not just her tired eyes or patched-up jacket, but the parts of her she was trying so hard to protect. And that, somehow, made her feel a little less lost. The plane touched down at JFK with a soft jolt, jolting Emily from a half-sleep. The lights flicked on as passengers stirred, stretching and preparing for the rush to disembark. Emily blinked, disoriented, then glanced at the man beside her, Daniel, as he had eventually introduced himself mid-flight. Their conversation had somehow made the hours disappear. For the first time in weeks, she hadn't been consumed by worry or loneliness. She actually felt seen. Not pitied. Not dismissed. Just heard. As they gathered their things, Daniel turned to her. "Emily, I meant it when I said your courage is rare. You've got something." She gave a shy laugh, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I don't know. Maybe. I just feel like I'm running out of chances. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a slim, matte black business card. If you ever want someone to look at your portfolio, he said, holding it out to her, send it here. No pressure. Emily took the card and thanked him, though a small part of her assumed it was just a polite gesture. People often made promises they didn't mean when goodbyes were near. They parted at the baggage claim, swallowed by the bustle of arriving passengers and carousel bells. Emily clutched the card but didn't glance at it right away. Her mind was already racing ahead, to the subway, to the tiny apartment she'd returned to the stack of resumes she hadn't yet sent. It wasn't until she was waiting on the freezing platform, train nowhere in sight, that she finally looked. Her breath caught. Daniel Hayes, CEO, Lumina Creative Studios. Her mouth fell open. Lumina was the design agency, her dream job, the kind of place she thought was untouchable, where talent was discovered and launched. Her fingers trembled as she slipped the card back into her coat pocket. This wasn't just a polite gesture. This was a door. A real one. And for the first time in a long time, Emily felt it might just open for her. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the sleek, modern lobby of Lumina Creative Studios. Emily stepped out, her heart pounding in her chest. She clutched a leather portfolio to her side, newly assembled, meticulously polished, and prayed over more times than she could count. A week had passed since the flight. She had stared at Daniel Hayes' business card for hours before finally drafting an email. Short. Grateful. Honest. She'd attached her portfolio and pressed send, expecting silence. But instead, just 2 days later, a reply. I remember you, Emily. Can you come in Tuesday at 10 a.m.? I'd like to talk. She had read the message 5 times before believing it was real. Now, here she was, standing in the lobby of her dream company, staring up at the logo she'd once only admired from afar on websites and magazine covers. A young receptionist greeted her with a warm smile and led her through glass doors, down a hallway lined with framed artwork and campaign photos. Every corner of the office felt alive with creativity, buzzing with energy. Emily's nerves tightened. Then she saw him. Daniel stood at the far end of the corridor, dressed more casually this time, no suit, just a crisp white shirt and rolled sleeves. He smiled when he saw her. Emily, he said, offering a firm handshake. I'm glad you came. They sat in a cozy conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city she was still struggling to call home. He opened her portfolio, flipped through each piece slowly, thoughtfully. When he looked up, he didn't hesitate. You have talent. Raw, honest, and full of heart. We don't hire based on perfect resumes here. We hire based on potential, and I see a lot of it in you. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. I want to offer you a paid design apprenticeship. It's not an entry-level job yet, but it's a start. A real one. Emily covered her mouth, breath catching in her throat. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Finally, she whispered, "Thank you." Daniel smiled. Everyone deserves someone to believe in them. Someone gave me that once. Now it's my turn. 6 months later, the grand atrium of Lumina Creative Studios was alive with music, laughter, and applause. It was the company's annual gala. An evening to celebrate innovation, creativity, and the people behind the work that made Lumina a global name in design. Emily stood backstage, hands gripping her note cards, heart thudding harder than it had in that airplane seat months ago. She wore a deep blue dress she'd bought with her first real paycheck and heels that still felt foreign beneath her feet. But her eyes gleamed with confidence, and her chin held high. She had come far, further than she ever thought possible. Her campaign, a mental health awareness project called Unmask, had gained unexpected traction, praised for its raw honesty and emotional storytelling. And now, she was about to present it to the entire company, senior creatives, clients, executives, and Daniel. She stepped into the spotlight. The lights were warm, the crowd hushed. Emily took a breath and began. I used to think that talent only mattered if it came with the right degree or connections. But I've learned something different here at Lumina. That stories matter more. And sometimes, the best stories start in the most unexpected places. As she spoke, slides of her designs filled the screen behind her, vivid colors, human faces, bold messages about vulnerability and hope. Her voice never wavered. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. Daniel, standing in the back with his arms crossed, smiled quietly to himself. He remembered that rainy night flight, the tired girl who had sat in his seat by mistake, and how that mistake had turned out to be the best kind of accident. Later that evening, as the gala wound down, he found her by the refreshment table. You've come a long way from 14A, he said with a grin. Emily laughed, eyes bright. Turns out the wrong seat was the right start. He nodded. Sometimes the universe isn't random. It just knows when the right people need to meet. They clinked glasses. Because in a world full of turbulence, a little kindness at 30,000 feet had changed the course of a life. And maybe, many more to come.